So welcome to MintPress podcast. I'm Catherine Chapdam, and we have here today Baraa Shiban, who is an activist and investigative journalist with Reprieve, a rights organization based in London, which has opposed and denounced abuses related to counter-terrorism, such as drones, rendition, tortures, and so on. Baraa, you have worked in Yemen covering the US drone program. So my first question is, US officials have often claimed that drones remain powerful counter-terror weapons and that it allows the military to target individuals from a distance without engaging boots on the ground. But how surgical, are these strikes, and what of the collateral damage?
I think one of the ways to look into drones is looking it from the other side. The operator, or when we speak to the people in the U.S., it's like something happening very far, where we are supposed to believe that these strikes are surgical strikes targeting what the United States would call an imminent threat to the U.S. security.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you come from the other side and look at from the side of the Yemeni people, you see those villagers who live day and night under the sound of drones. They don't know when or where or how it's going to strike, and they've experienced it before that these drones actually do kill civilians, and they've killed their own people, their own neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what they know about those strikes. They don't know what's the target, who's the target, and they don't know when is the strikes taking place. And they're supposed to believe, for a certain reason, that these strikes are going to kill the right people.
Mm-hmm.
If you would allow me, I would like to give just a few examples. We
Of
have
course.
the case of Salim bin Ali Jabir, one of our clients. Salim bin Ali Jabir was an anti-Qaeda imam who preached in a Friday sermon against Al-Qaeda.
Mm-hmm.
The week before he was preaching against Al-Qaeda, his family were actually very afraid that he might be a target of Al-Qaeda. What happened was quite the opposite, that he was killed by a drone strike. And we believe that was during, there might be a few armed people who came to see him. That was probably to shaken him a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But the result is that you see a whole village who have a well-respected person, and they have their imam being killed. In another case is a child who was killed in Al-Jawf province, that's east of the capital Sana'a.
Mm-hmm.
The child actually didn't know who was he riding with. He wanted a pickup to reach to his village, and during that ride he was killed with a drone strike. Now this creates an atmosphere of fear,
Mm-hmm.
and are scared. And I think this is what the American people need to know and need to realize. Like, you need to see it from the other side. People need to see it from the opposite, and see that people are actually living in fear day and
Mm-hmm.
night. They don't know when or how these strikes are taking place. All what they know that it's gonna kill someone at a certain place, and for their best interest, it's better that they hope that they're not in the surrounding, or they're not close to the strike.
Okay. So, do you think that essentially it is a problem that is linked to intelligence, that the type of intelligence that is fed to officials in Washington, or do you think that inherently drones are just wrong and should not be used against civilians, because it's we always going to see collateral damage, and you can never really justify the death of a child or a civilian, for the sake of maybe taking down a few terrorists.
Okay. I think whenever we talk about the legality of drones, this takes us to the question of how does the United States view Yemen? How does it view the Yemeni people?
Mm-hmm.
And the main issue, I think, is that the United States never viewed Yemeni people as partners in its war against terror. It has always dealt with its leaders. And it's quite actually very significant to say that the United States dealt with, I would say, undemocratic leaders representing, having undemocratic governments. And that's how the Yemeni people view their leaders. Now, leaders come and go, but the Yemeni people actually are the ones who are always there. It's I think it's quite important to say that last year, as an example, the Yemeni parliament did have a voting on drones, and they did voted anonymously against the use of drones.
Exactly.
Now this doesn't seem to be very well much respected by the American administration.
Okay.
It's actually just viewing Yemen as a place where it's I would say field experiment where they need to keep on going and trying on how can they stop this threat against terror. And I think the Yemeni people are actually the real the only guarantee to maintain a long, sustainable relationship with the United States.
I have one final question, and it's, I mean, I don't know if anyone has an answer, but I mean, you most of all, have, know exactly what it means, what drones actually do on the ground. And I want to know, why is it that people do not care? Because I can only imagine how, people in the US or in the UK would react, at the idea of having, let's say, a Russian drone targeting, alleged terrorists on their backyard. I mean, I'm pretty much certain that they would not appreciate, the invasion, because this is how it would be understood, as an invasion, and an infraction against, their own rights and their own national rights. So why is it, one, that the world does not care about what happens in Yemen, and two, how come Yemeni have not, I mean, we have seen in 2011, they know how to mobilize, they have learned that. So why is it that people do not feel the same, anger that they did, against the regime and against dictatorship that they do against drone? Why aren't people doing anything?
Well, I think there are many people who are trying to do something, but their voices is still very small and the numbers are still very limited. Regarding the questions, why do we think many people still don't care? I think simply because the United States have created the sentiment of fear amongst people, and whenever there is, I mean, since 9/11. The American people have been waiting about, what is going to happen next? What is the next the coming target? Not actually recognizing at the same time that actually you need to see also on the other side what's happening. Look at your government, what it's doing to the rest of the world, and is that actually making you more safe and more stable? I think when you target a 9-year-old child in a shuttle when she was with her mom and dad, I don't think that makes you more safe. I don't think that's going to make the world a safer place, and I think it's going to create more anger from those people towards both, actually, the Yemeni government and the American government. The Yemeni government as an ally to the U.S. and the U.S. as the part which is taking doing such strikes. In terms of the voices, I would give you a small example about Muhammad al-Kawili. He's a brother of a drone strike victim. His brother was an elementary school teacher who died in a drone strike last was January 2013. Muhammad started to mobilize the drone victims' families and created last year an organization to raise the voices of those victims. They created the union for the drone victim families, and for him, he said, "We don't have much to say, but we all should always struggle through peaceful methods. And how can we counter the idea of drones?" And I think by time more people are going to join this cause. But I hope actually more than just more people joining this cause from Yemen is more people joining from abroad, because actually this is where the decision is taking place. The person who's actually his hand is on the trigger is not in Yemen; he's in the US. And I think this is where most of the pressure should take place. People should realize and should actually view the situation from the other side, and actually feel and how would you feel if another country's drone is over your head and you're waiting for the strike to take place anytime, and you don't know when or how is this taking place. And I think this is the point where I think most of us should start mobilizing around.
Do you think there's a great degree of prejudice though, where it's almost this kind of neo-imperialism where the Americans feel entitled to their war against terror, not realizing that on the other end of that trigger there's actual people, and that those people are not the enemy. They are as much the victim of terror than American people are. Do you think that it goes into this narrative where they stop seeing the Yemeni people as people and more like potential terrorists?
I mean, I think it's definitely a way of how does the United States, is viewing Yemen, and how how is it policy towards Yemen. I would give you an example. If you would just put a small comparison and compare actually the amount of money being spent by the United States on counterterrorism efforts in Yemen in comparison to the funding they're doing in development aid, let's say, there is actually there's a very huge difference. And this is, I think, it reflects how does the United States view Yemen. It doesn't view it as a potential state where it would prosper and grow and have a more stable government and actually as a nation, but actually a potential threat that we should try to stop that threat from spreading, and not realizing that you're actually turning a whole country, a nation of 25 million into a target, who feel like they've been put into their only crime is that they were born in this country and they had to live in this country. And I think sooner or later we should take this and view this as a serious threat.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for your time. Thank you.